Dr. Greg Patriarca again here for Dr. Greg channel. So this is your channel where you can get your medical advice and all your tips that will help you in your medical problems. And I will be here to lecture on certain topics which may be of help to you. So if you're new here, I suggest you subscribe and click the notification bell so that you will always be updated on all my new videos that will be coming out. Okay? So right now, our topic will be on the N95 mask. Okay, so how good is an N95 mask? Why is it so expensive? Okay, so I will tell you everything once we go on to the video. So what is an N95 mask? Why is it so expensive? Okay. So can it really filter out fine microscopic particles? Maybe what comes in mind is that you compare the N95 mask to a fine strainer, a mesh with fine strands to filter out dust and other particles. A strainer filters out particles larger than its openings, but not smaller than its openings. So see, if you expect that with a mask, you will think that small enough particles will seep through. But this is not how N95 works. The particles it filters is much more smaller than the gaps between the fibers in the mask. And the N95 is really good at filtering the largest and the smallest particles. It's the medium-sized particles that are hardest for it to block. This isn't at all like a strainer. The N95s are much cleverer than strainers. The overarching goal of the N95 mask is for a microscopic particle to touch the fiber of the mask. Regardless of how big the particle is, once it touches the fiber, it stays stuck to it. This isn't about the size of the fibers, but is about the size of the particles. At a microscopic scale, everything is sticky. This is due to the van der Waals forces, because the weakly attractive forces of molecules is more than strong enough to hold very, very small things in place. So don't think of an N95 mask as a screen to keep insects out. You should think of it as a sticky spider web, where it catches any insect of size as long as it touches the strand. And so, N95 masks uses different cover physics and mechanical tricks to get particles to touch their fibers. First, many spider webs are better than one, unlike strainers, where stacking many identical ones doesn't improve the filtering out at all. More layers of sticky fibers means more chance for particles getting stuck. Airborne particles larger than 1,000 millimeters travel in a straight line because of their inertia, and because there are so many layers of fibers, their straight line path will essentially guarantee them to stick. Airborne particles that are really very, very small are so light that they bounce against other molecules, that they move in a random zigzag motion called Brownian motion. This zigzag motion will most likely that a particle will bump into a fiber and stick. Particles of in-between sizes are the hardest to filter because they don't travel on a straight line and they don't bounce around randomly. Instead, they carry along with the air as it flows around fibers, meaning they could sneak through even a mask with many layers. But N95 mask has an answer to these type of particles. They can attract particles of all sizes using an electric field. This is why neutrally charged foam sticks to the fur of a cat charged with static electricity. However, the N95 fibers are just not like the cat's fur with static electricity. The fibers are like permanent magnets called electrets. Just like When you permanently magnetize a piece of iron by putting it in a strong enough magnetic field, you can electritize a piece of plastic to give it a permanent electric field. By electritizing the fibers in an N95 mask, they gain a long-lasting ability to attract particles, which means they capture about 10 times as many particles compared to regular fibers. And this is, after all, the point of an N95 mask. It filters out particles in the air, and they do it cleverly. Number one, by taking advantage of the molecular stickiness of matter. Number two, using many layers of fibers to catch straight moving large particles as well as the very, very small zigzagging particles. Number three, having an electric field attracting all particles. You get a super mask, not a strainer, that's really good at trapping both large and small particles and does a reasonably good job at filtering medium-sized particles. Precisely what fraction of those medium-sized particles get blocked gives you the number of the mask. If at least 95% of these particles are filtered out, then the mask is rated N95. Caveats. Okay. So, mask fit is super important. So, even if the N95 mask filters out 95% of all particles, it is also important to wear it properly. So there should be no leaks on the sides of the mask because it will only escape the filtering capacity of the mask. So the mask should be fully sealed on your face for it to be fully effective. Number two, particle size matters, but not much for COVID-19. So dust, smoke, pollen, bacteria, and viruses all have different sizes. Germs of airborne illnesses don't usually travel on their own. We breathe or cough them out in droplets, which have a wide range of sizes. So the size of the virus or bacteria itself is particularly irrelevant. Okay. Number three, decontamination. N95 masks are intended to be disposable. But due to the shortage in masks, the reality is that healthcare workers have to reuse them and thus decontaminate them. It's important to be aware that certain kinds of decontamination, for example, alcohol or liquids, can damage the electrostatic properties of the mask and destroy their filtering ability, even if the mask appears unaffected. So this proves to you how superior the N95 mask is. So the 3M, the N95 masks, the original ones, they really filter out even the smallest sized air particles. No? The virus size ranges from 0.06 to 0.1 microns. And movement of the virus usually is somewhere between the medium size and the very small size. No? So it's somewhere between the Brownian motion and the middle-sized airflow motion. Using the N95 mask, it can trap these kinds of particles. The advice is, aside from wearing a mask, okay, you should also practice social distancing. So I hope you learned something new in this video. So please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when my new video comes out, you will be notified immediately. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you. Goodbye.